최근 미어샤이머 교수가 미국의 잘못된 러시아 정책으로 인해서 이란 핵 문제, 북한 핵 미사일 문제가 심하게 꼬이고 있다라고 비판을 했는데요. 그 영상 한번 함께 보시죠.
That the United States is in a colossal mess. Put it more generally, the West is in a colossal mess. Let's just start with what's happened with regard to Russia and China. As a result of the Ukraine war, the United States has helped push Russia into the arms of the Chinese. This is not in our strategic interest. We should have good relations with Russia because China is a peer competitor, Russia is not. China is a greater threat to the United States than Russia is. Pushing Russia, the third great power in the system, into the arms of your principal adversary, China, makes no sense at all. Furthermore, getting bogged down in Ukraine and now getting bogged down in the Middle East as well makes it very difficult to fully pivot to Asia to contain China, which is, again, America's principal mission at this point in time. So the Ukraine war has had really negative effects on America's ability to deal with China. Then, as you point out, there's Iran and there's North Korea. What we've hoped for in the past is that both China and Russia would cooperate with us to make sure that Iran did not go nuclear. Well, what happens if Iran decides it's going to develop nuclear weapons? Are the Russians and the Chinese going to work with us? I wouldn't bet a lot of money on that. We've also hoped that the Chinese and the Russians would work with us to convince North Korea to give up its nuclear weapons. That's not going to happen now either. So if you think about the nuclear proliferation issue as it applies to both North Korea and Iran, we have created a situation where we're in a very weak position with regard to those countries. So the situation here looks disastrous. And then when you marry to that situation what's going on in the Middle East, where the Israelis are doing poorly inside of Gaza, and there is no possibility that they're going to eliminate Hamas and create a peaceful Gaza, and where they're talking about attacking Hezbollah and escalating the war into Lebanon, you really begin to wonder. And then furthermore, on top of this, the Israelis are waging a genocidal campaign in Gaza that is going to cause the United States and especially Israel huge problems from a reputational and moral perspective moving forward. Well, again, I think what you want to do is you want to solve the Ukraine problem by creating a neutral Ukraine and doing everything you can to make sure that the Russians feel assured that Ukraine and NATO are not together going to present them with a serious threat moving forward. And then at the same time, I think what you try to do is improve diplomatic relations slowly but steadily with the Russians. The problem is that selling that kind of diplomatic solution in the United States at this point in time is almost impossible. People are so deeply invested in this war and so thoroughly convinced that the Russians are a mortal threat to Western Europe or to Europe more generally and to the United States, that getting them to change their thinking is just going to take a considerable amount of time. And what we don't have at this juncture is time.